My little sister pretended to be severely disabled for years, and almost destroyed an innocent boy's future in the process. When she finally snapped and exposed herself in front of the entire school, it wasn't an accident. We set the trap. And she fell for it. Her name is Madison. She has mosaic Down syndrome, the kind where only some cells carry the extra chromosome. Which means, aside from some facial differences, she functions cognitively like any other person. Sometimes sharper. But no one else knew that. And Madison? She made sure to keep it that way. Growing up, I adored her. I gave her everything. I did her homework, handed over my toys, and protected her from everything and everyone. Our parents called me the perfect big sister. But it didn't last. The praise dried up the moment I said no to Madison. I remember it perfectly. I was 14. Exhausted from studying for finals, I told her I couldn't finish her science report. Without hesitation, she kicked the back of my leg so hard I hit the floor gasping. I tried calling out for help. My mother eventually climbed the stairs, took one look at me, then turned to Madison with a smile and said, "Of course she's going to make mistakes. She has Down syndrome." Then she went downstairs and gave Madison a bowl of Rocky Road ice cream. That night something shifted. At 1:11 a.m., Madison burst into my room. Her voice was ice. "I calculated exactly how hard to kick you so you'd fall but not bruise. Physics is helpful like that." She smirked. I froze. From there, things escalated. Fast. One summer afternoon, I gave her all the best slices of watermelon while we sat under the porch. She told me I chewed like a street goblin, and backhanded me so hard I saw stars. When my parents came out, they wrapped their arms around her. Told her, "Sorry your sister's being difficult again." That's when I realized, my first heartbreak wasn't a boy. It was my family. At school, Madison played the role of the helpless angel. But behind closed doors, she had a vicious streak. The only person who ever noticed was Ben. Ben's older brother had classic Down syndrome. He knew the difference. He saw through her act. And more importantly, he saw my bruises. For a while, Ben was the only thing keeping me from falling apart. Until Madison took everything one step too far. It was a Tuesday. We were in the cafeteria, Ben and I laughing over something stupid, when Madison sauntered up and dropped into Ben's lap like she owned him. "Will you go out with me?" she asked, batting her lashes in exaggerated slow motion. Ben, thinking on his feet, gave her a half-dramatic wave and replied, "Sorry, girly pop. I'm gay." Cringe? Yes. But Madison didn't take it lightly. That afternoon, my mother met me at the door, red-faced. "You're not to speak to Ben again. Ever." I didn't have time to react before she continued. "He forced himself on your sister. He took advantage of a girl with Down syndrome. He's disgusting." I stood frozen. Then ran to my room, opened Instagram. It was already everywhere. Hashtag Ben the Predator. Hashtag Believe Her. Hashtag Disabled Victim. I knew what was happening. But I had no idea how far she'd go. Ben was arrested within the week. And the day the sentence came down, 1 year in juvenile detention, no parole, I made a promise. She got away with it once. But she wouldn't do it again. Ben walked out of detention exactly 371 days after Madison put him there. I was waiting outside the juvenile center, holding a backpack with his old hoodie folded inside. He looked older. Not just physically. His eyes were different, hollow in the way people look when they've spent too long surviving in silence. We drove in near total silence. I didn't know what to say. But when we were 2 stop signs away from my house, he finally spoke. "I don't want to talk about what happened in there," he said, his voice quieter than I remembered. "But I thought of her every single day." I nodded. "I have a plan," I offered. He shook his head. "No. I have a better one. You just have to trust me." The next week at school, he avoided me entirely. Not just a little. He wouldn't even glance my way. And then on Friday, He sat next to Madison in the cafeteria. Laughing. Joking. Holding her hand. My stomach twisted into knots. Had detention broken him? Was this trauma bonding or something worse? I cornered him after last period. Madison was beside him. She smirked, wrapped her hand in his. Ben looked at me with empty eyes and said, I realized some stuff. I'm not gay. I just didn't know what I wanted back then. But I do now. Madison's amazing. It felt like someone poured boiling water down my back. I stumbled backward as they walked away, her smile smug, his face unreadable. That night I barely slept. My head spun through every possibility. Had he flipped? Had she convinced him to switch sides? Or was this the plan? The next day, her Instagram lit up. A picture of her in Ben's backyard with his family. Smiling. Charming. Posing beside his little brother like nothing had ever happened. That's when I knew something was off. Ben's parents were some of the most observant people I knew. His dad was a neurologist. His mom ran a nonprofit for neurodiverse kids. There's no way she could play them forever. I decided to wait. To watch. And I didn't have to wait long. By Monday, things started shifting. Subtle at first. Madison was speaking up in class. And not in the clumsy, hesitant voice she normally used, but with confidence. She raised her hand in calculus and asked about multidimensional vector spaces. Used the word orthogonal correctly. Kids started whispering. By Wednesday, she was tutoring someone in chemistry. And that's when Ben's plan started to make sense. See, people like Madison can only hide when no one's watching. But now everyone was paying attention. Thursday, Ben's parents picked him up from school. I watched from across the parking lot as Madison animatedly chatted with them. You could tell she was performing, over-enunciating, gesturing wildly, speaking fast. Too fast. His mom tilted her head, narrowed her eyes. His dad just frowned. That night, I finally got a message from Ben. One word. Patience. Friday at lunch, Madison cracked. I was sitting alone as usual, methodically chewing my apple, each bite exaggerated, loud, and crisp, just like she hated. She was a few tables away with Ben and his friends, her eyes twitching toward me with every crunch. Then she stood. Ben tried to grab her arm, but she jerked away and marched straight toward me. I kept chewing. Bite. Crunch. Without a word, she yanked the apple from my hand and hurled it across the cafeteria. It hit the wall with a wet splat. The entire room went dead silent. Then Madison screamed. You think you're so clever, don't you? Chewing like that on purpose? I looked up, deadpan. I'm just eating lunch. She snapped. Tried to lunge, but Ben stepped in, calm and cool. Babe, chill. She's not worth it. But Madison didn't stop. She started yelling, about how I was jealous, how I wanted to ruin her, how she was special, and I couldn't stand it. Her words were sharp. Clear. No slurring. No confusion. Just furious, articulate rage. Phones came out. Dozens. Ben stepped back with the perfect line. Lily, why do you sound so different? She froze. The mask shattered. That night I couldn't sleep. The footage was already all over social media. My DMs filled with people asking if it was true. If Madison had been faking. If she'd lied about me, about Ben. I didn't reply to any of them. Because I remembered something I hadn't thought about in years. I was 16. My birthday. Madison had thrown one of her signature tantrums that morning, and our parents made me cancel my plans so we could have a calm day. I spent it watching cartoons with her, pretending it didn't hurt. That night she told me, You were never special. So you better be useful instead. I laughed like it was a joke. It wasn't. That memory hit me like a truck. I was done pretending this was my fault. On Monday, she returned to school like nothing had happened, voice slow again, expression blank, back to her old routine. But now, people were watching. Closely. Ben and I sat together at lunch. He didn't speak much. Just watched. Then, right on cue, Ryan walked over to her table. Ryan, the top kid in AP Physics. He held up his textbook. Hey Madison, can you help me with this? I heard you're great with force vectors. Her face turned white. She stammered, mumbled something about not being good at school stuff. But as she stood to leave, someone near her table clearly heard her mutter. That's just basic kinetic energy. The whispers spread fast. The next day, our English teacher asked her to read a passage aloud. Madison fumbled through it, pretending to struggle. But behind her, Alan saw her roll her eyes when the teacher wasn't looking. By Thursday, people were connecting the dots. Then came the moment that confirmed everything. In the hallway, Madison grabbed Ben's shirt and whispered, Stop lying. I know what you're doing. Ben peeled her hands off gently and said, Babe, you're scaring me. She stormed off. But she'd already lost. The conference room was packed. Folding chairs lined the school auditorium, every one filled with teachers, students, and parents. The air buzzed with anxiety, like everyone knew something big was about to break, and it did. The principal opened with vague statements about concerns raised, about integrity in the school community. He never said Madison's name. He didn't need to. Then the first parent stood up. Alan's mom. My son says a student's pretending to have a disability. That she's manipulating others. What is the school doing about this? Before the principal could answer, my mother stood up. Her voice, sharp and furious, cut across the room. This is disgusting. My daughter has mosaic Down syndrome. She's being persecuted because she looks different. Then Ruth, Ben's mom, stood. Calm. Controlled. With all due respect, I have a son with Down syndrome. And what your daughter's showing, it doesn't match any known behavior. The room erupted. Half the parents yelled in Madison's defense. The others demanded accountability. Teachers tried calming things down, but it was chaos. Until Madison stood. She didn't limp, didn't slur. She stood tall, eyes blazing. Stop. All of you, she said. You want the truth? Fine. You could hear a pin drop. Yes. I have mosaic Down syndrome. Yes, I'm more intelligent than people think. But do you know what it's like to be stared at like a freak? To be talked down to like a child, every single day? She looked around. Some parents looked sympathetic. Others looked horrified. I didn't lie, she continued. I just stopped correcting people. Because when I did, no one listened. When I pretended to be slow, they gave me things. Treated me like I mattered. I just wanted to be seen. My mother reached for her. Madison flinched away. And yes, I used it. I let it go too far. But don't act like I'm the only one who's ever lied to survive. Silence. Then Bobby, Ben's dad, stood up. His voice didn't shake. My son spent a year in juvenile detention because of your daughter's false accusation. Madison's face went pale. That wasn't. I didn't mean, she stuttered. We have witnesses, Bobby said, his voice louder now. Recordings. Screenshots. Medical professionals ready to testify. This isn't survival. This is manipulation. And she almost ruined a boy's life. The principal looked like he aged 10 years in 10 minutes. He finally called for order, announced an investigation would begin immediately, and dismissed the meeting. As we filed out, Madison wouldn't even look at me. In the car, my parents were silent. Not angry, defeated. My mom's mascara had run. My dad stared out the window like he didn't recognize the world anymore. I should have felt victorious. But I just felt empty. That night Ben messaged me. One more step. Let her destroy herself. We're almost there. She came back to school on Monday, acting like nothing happened. Her voice was slurred again. Her gait uneven. She sat alone during lunch, eyes darting nervously, but still clinging to the act. But now, Everyone was watching. The teachers. The students. Even the janitor. Then Thursday hit. I was halfway through lunch with Ben, Sarah, and a couple of others when we heard yelling. We turned just in time to see Madison, on top of a cafeteria table, screaming at a freshman who'd accidentally brushed past her. The kid looked terrified. "Everyone treats me like I'm broken," she shrieked. "Like I don't matter." The teacher rushed over, tried to de-escalate, but Madison wouldn't come down. Her eyes locked with mine across the room, and her face twisted into something venomous. She jumped down and marched toward me. Ben stood immediately, placing himself in front of me. "Madison, stop." But she shoved him, hard. He slammed into the table, food crashing everywhere. I stood up, frozen, and that's when she grabbed me by the hair. "You did this!" she screamed. "You ruined my life! Everyone loves you and hates me!" It was like years of bottled rage exploded out of her. And then, he appeared. Peter. Ben's younger brother. The one with actual Down syndrome. He walked right up to Madison, calm as a monk, and said, "Please let go. You're hurting her. That's not nice." She froze. Peter kept going, voice soft but steady. "It's okay to be mad. But hurting people just makes more mad. You don't want more mad." For a second, I saw it, the fear, the shame, the realization, all flicker across her face. Then she let go. Teachers swarmed in. Security took her away without a fight. And just like that, it was over. That afternoon, the school expelled her permanently. Her second chance was gone. At home, my parents looked like ghosts. My mom cried while packing Madison's suitcase. My dad just muttered about boarding school and therapeutic campuses. Somewhere. With structure. Somewhere far. I didn't speak. I didn't need to. Because I was done. Days passed. Quiet, almost eerie. Students treated me with cautious respect. Some even apologized. Most didn't know what to say. Then one morning, I opened my locker and found it. A letter. In Madison's handwriting. 3 pages. She wrote about therapy. About shame. About realizing she was jealous, not because I was normal, but because I was loved for being myself. Because I never had to fake who I was to matter. She said she didn't expect forgiveness. She just wanted me to know she was trying. Trying to change. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't crumble. I folded the letter, tucked it in my bag. I didn't throw it away. Not because she deserved a second chance. But because I did. Graduation cap epilogue. Senior year brought prom. Graduation. College applications. Normal milestones I thought I'd never get to enjoy. Ben and I stayed together. We applied to different schools in different states, but we weren't scared. After what we'd survived, a little distance was nothing. One day, Peter gave me a drawing, stick figures at mini golf. Us. Happy. I hung it above my desk in my dorm room. It reminded me that light can come from the darkest places. That family isn't just blood. That sometimes it's the ones who see you at your worst, who become your best. And for the first time in my life, I was free.